And I'll choose grow every time.
At least 4 billion useless eaters will be eliminated by the year 2050.
Whenever a truth is heard, there's no going back. You are the main character in the video game of life.
I personally don't believe anything they say, right down to the god they claim we worship.
I'm still waiting for somebody to show me gas pressure without a container.
None of the math adds up.
You could stack up all their math books, all their science books, and even put all their degrees stacked up on top of that, and you still wouldn't be high enough to see the curvature.
This is exactly why grounding is so important.
It's all dualistic.
We see too far.
We're just regular people who know we're being lied to. We're tired of it.
The bottom line is, there's only one choice left, and that's to dismantle this whole thing from the top down.
What? One more. Bruh. No, I didn't mean one more of those. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Phone Booth Podcast. I am so excited about tonight because not only do I get to talk to a friend, but I get to have my mind fucked. So I always love that. So we're going to get to that in a second. But before we get to that, don't forget to go to Phone Booth Podcast.
That's some next level gay shit. Mind fuck. Okay.
That's okay. PhoneBoothPodcast.substack.com, where you got 93 podcasts now, I think. No.
Yeah, do you see?
Podcast. Well,
Laz and Translucid is taking over. He's taking over.
That's because he's loading it all in. Don't worry, he'll disappear soon. He'll fade back into nothingness. It's all right.
Phone Booth Podcast. You got Philosophy King Podcast. You got Pickens In Podcast. You got Here's the Thing Podcast. You got Dualistic Podcast. You got Mind of Madness Podcast. You got Fasting P Podcast. Detoxing the Matrix Podcast. And Translucid now. Finally, it's in there.
It's
now
finally in there.
Podcast.
Without
Detoxing
further
the Matrix
ado.
Podcast. And Translucid now. Finally, it's in
what just
there.
happened there, bro? You need to turn that off. Without
Detoxing
further
the Matrix
ado.
Podcast.
No, you know what it is.
Translucid now.
It
is.
There you go.
It is when we live stream. Our live stream comes on the main page.
Okay.
That was what happened. So now that that's over with, also check out canambullion.com, where you can buy gold coins and silver coins and platinum coins and
From
bars.
the coin man himself.
From
the coin man himself.
He's our coin man. He's our coin man. So yeah, go check that out, and it's a great investment. And also, like I always say, once you do decide to buy your investment coins, because that's what we're calling it, because you rarely lose money on this, right, Ted?
You never lose money on it.
You never. Excuse me, then. I said rarely. That means sometimes you would, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
You never lose money. This is investment, silver, gold, whatever. But once you put them in the cart, remember to hurry up to buy it, because the price might change within 5 minutes.
It could.
Yeah. So check out canambullion.com. Canambullion.com. There
Vince
you go.
is working on his English. I like
No, I just want
pronunciation.
Yeah, the M is important, so it's not canon or canon. Yeah, canambullion.com.
Gotcha.
Good. Now,
Good. So, all
let's
right, let
bring
me
up-
loosen up my brain a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, bring up Keith. Here we go. Can we at least get a smile, Keith?
Come on, Keith. What
He's all
the
straight
fuck?
face. No. What's going on, man? It's been a long time since we talked face to face.
It has been a long time. Yeah, a lot has gone down. But can I just comment on your sponsor real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
As you said, like, be careful. The price might keep going up. It's going to continue to go up, and it's going up really fast. I don't know much about gold, but I can tell you silver is an absolute hands down good buy.
Yeah. And see, that's what, you know me, and like, we've had other people we talked to about sponsoring us possibly, and I'm like, it has to be something I absolutely believe in. And what better to believe in than something that consistently goes up and is getting ready to skyrocket? There's no downside. So that's the only reason we're doing it. It's only shit we believe in, and I absolutely believe in it. I own silver myself, or I wouldn't be pushing it, period. I don't
Well,
think
I don't
think it's a
believe
great
in it.
investment.
I believe in the coin.
The
Just
fiat
kidding.
currency. I like that.
Yeah.
The last time you were here, we talked about Tartaria, and you blew our minds, and it was one of the highest viewed episodes ever. And when I asked you back, honestly, I thought that's what we were going to talk about again, and I'm sure it will touch on that. But
Yeah.
just basically break down for everybody who doesn't know exactly what you're going to explain first, and then kind of walk us through maybe how you found it before we actually go into it ourselves.
This is this is a difficult one to answer because it's a long answer. But for a lot of people on Twitter, especially my followers, they can see that something is wrong with history. The logistics of a building that was supposedly built at a specific year with a population that was too small before infrastructure was set up. And there's just way too many inconsistencies. Well, it turns out we were right, like straight across the board. History is a lie, but that sentence is incorrect. The proper way of putting it would be standardized history is the lie. So, a quick breakdown would be this. When the Civil War ended, the United States federal government obviously did stuff that they weren't proud of. They went back on the Articles of Confederation that said any state that wants to pull out can pull out. And they assumed powers that had never been assumed before by a president that nobody had ever heard of before, that nobody saw during the war, that everybody was. You know how many times they dug up Lincoln to make sure that he was a real person? A lot of people don't realize that. But so when the Civil War was finally done, the North had done a lot wrong. And in order to unify the nation and to prepare them to become an industrialized workforce, the first thing they did during the Reconstruction era was they got together the Reconstruction academics. They were primarily focused out of Columbia University in the beginning. And what they did was their goal, not my words, this is not my words, this is theirs. Their goal was to unify the future generations and to ensure institutional and governmental continuity. They didn't want the rebellion to rise again, and they didn't want the next generation growing up gripey that, well, my grandfather died to keep to keep Texas out of the Union. Maybe I'm gonna start a protest. Maybe I'm gonna write a paper about it. So, in order to stop this from happening, they decided to unify the nation with one storyline that, in a direct, not in a direct, but in a linear progression forward, that everything got better because of the federal government. And if you just go to the Google search bar today, say, why do some mainstream academics argue that we should undo what was done during Reconstruction by the Reconstruction academics? And why do they think it would be corrosive for society today to learn, what really actually happened?
Should I actually do that right now, Keith?
Oh, if you can keep up with that, yeah. If you need,
Well, I have. Why do some mainstream academics do what?
Why do some mainstream academics? Wait, no. Let me reword that. The debate between mainstream academics that's still ongoing today regarding the Reconstruction academics.
Hold on. The debate between mainstream academics. I feel like a live translator. Yeah.
Oh wait,
that's still going on today.
Yeah, I can't actually see that, and I got that short-term memory problem.
The debate between mainstream academics. You see it on the screen, right?
No, it's
Oh yeah.
doing this on my phone.
Fuck. Anyways, the debate between mainstream academics.
Wait, I'm drawing a complete blank. I have that.
Okay. Ted.
No, just carry on with where you were going.
Yeah, I'm
You were
sorry.
saying-
I'm very bad at jumping from one thing to another, and when I stop in the middle of a sentence,
It gets lost. It gets lost. Yeah.
I hit on a Chevy a couple of years ago, and I had cognitive decline.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. No problem. Fuck it.
But
Just
after I explain this, if I can write it on a piece of paper, I'll be able to read it back to you.
Okay. Cool.
So the mainstream academics started to rewrite history, and they started to undo some of the bad things of the government and started to write them as benevolent. And it was only supposed to stay on for about 2 or 3 generations, but it never got turned off because it became one of the greatest social engineering tools. And here's something that you can Google right now. Why do some people think that standardized history is social engineering for the government's continuity?
Why do some people think that standardized
history is social engineering for government continuity?
History is.
And you could replace people with academics, and I'll explain that later.
Why do some people think standardized history is
people with academics? Why do some academics think
with academics? I don't know if this will make sense. We'll see. Some people believe standardized history education has fundamentally changed or negatively impacted the way students and academics engage with the subject, largely because it has shifted the focus from critical analysis to memorization, reduced the discipline to a single speso narrative, and devalued the importance of diverse perspectives. Critics argues this approach has created a one-size-fits-all model that prioritizes ranking and sorting students over fostering a deep, nuanced understanding of historical events. Well, there's a bunch of shit going on there.
I think that's enough, though, of what he's saying.
Okay. Now, in order to get to the real answers, so Google is programmed to reply, when you talk about a historical topic, it will flatten certain words, it'll flatten phrases, and it'll compress things, and it simplifies them. It kind of hides it. So you'd want to go to that Google there and click ask the AI, and then proceed to pin it down with more questions. And you could say something like, I meant regarding the mainstream academics that rewrote standardized history post-Civil War. And you'll see that we rewrote our history at this very moment in time. We know the names of the people that did it. We know why they did it. And it's verifiable. Now, the question that you'll inevitably have to lead yourself to is, well, what did they change? And what was... And then the story starts to get much more in depth.
So you played around with this AI thing, and you found a way to kind of corner it in to give you the truth, kind of a thing. Like, yeah?
What I had learned was this: if you don't know, AI won't tell you, and we need Google search bar. But now, if you say to Google, no, I don't want to talk about standardized history. I want to have a legitimate historiography conversation. Now, historiography is the actual events of what happened as recorded by the people that were there at the time. And that's completely different than standardized history. So you've got to let Google know, you've got to let AI know that, no, I don't want to have a standardized conversation. Let's revert to this. And I had found this by accident. that there was two types of history ongoing at the same time, and all search engines, all AI default to standardized history first, unless you tell them you don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's like you have to unlock the riddle, or like you have to unlock something, and then it opens it up, right? You need to.
But then, even at that point, it'll try to talk to you like a mainstream historian. And in mainstream history, going against standardized history is a big no-no.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be careful, and you can't use words like conspiracy, hidden civilizations, and things like that. And well, as we progress into the conversation, you'll find out why. But it essentially has to do with none of it is hidden. It's just been standardized, and we're debating over the standardized historical events that don't match what our eyes see. And it's the more you educate yourself on the topic, the more you understand about history, the more you can pin AI down to certain things. And you can ask it, please don't flatten your replies. And what is flattening in history? If you were in mainstream academia and you wanted to publish a paper, saying that you found a giant skeleton is going to get you blacklisted.
Mm-hmm.
But writing down that you found a larger than expected skeleton, it has been flattened properly for mainstream historians to actually take a look at it. So the things have been flattened, and they try to, because AI will tell you that the reason why we don't actually teach this to our kids now and to the nation is that it would be socially corrosive. Society would begin to corrode away, and we would lose faith in institutional and governmental powers because we've been lied to and socially engineered through this indoctrination that everything was benevolent, be patriotic. If people knew the truth that a government coup occurred during the Civil War and it subdued the states that could legally walk away, you wouldn't necessarily want to lend your children's lives to those oil wars. You wouldn't be as patriotic as you are. So one of the reasons that history was standardized was to make people a better citizenry base that was more patriotic and manipulatable by the government to get people to do what was best for the government's continuity, not what was best for the people.
So was there a person who made this decision? Or was there a committee? Was there who decided this is what we're going to do? We're going to change the narrative. We're going to do this for the good of the nation after the Civil War. Do we know who did that?
It was the industrialists through the United States federal government. It was all federal grants. It was 100% run from government supported universities. It started off in Columbia University and then spread through the entire country. And the standardization of everything applies here. It's not just standardized history that was reconstructed during the Reconstruction era. The Reconstruction era changed everything from the type of factories that we had to the type of forced labor that we had. Just baby farms. We needed more workers. We weren't looking to make the public better. We were looking to build the infrastructure faster and fill the depopulated cities, which we'll get into in a minute. But it was the industrialists. They funded the whole thing from the political party for Abraham Lincoln that nobody's ever heard of. They were called the Wide Awakes. Their motto was the all-seeing eye. It was young men that were dressed in paramilitary style uniforms that would march around at night with torches. And everybody at the time thought that this was really weird that we've got a political party for a presidential candidate that nobody's ever heard of. We don't have a single school record for him. He's supposedly self-taught, came out of nowhere, a one-time senator, just like Barack Obama. And most of the photos of him are known to be duplicates or photoshops or edits.
Yeah.
The whole thing surrounding him, the people of the day, and this is what's not in our standardized history, the people that were alive during the Civil War, which was originally called the Great Rebellion. We changed the name of it during Reconstruction. Nobody ever called it the Civil War during the war. So, but when this happened, the people of the day, the contemporaries, thought it was a government coup. And all of a sudden, money was changed. We went to like this paper money. that nobody had trust or faith in. Union soldiers were writing home that they didn't know why they were in this war, that they were against it, and that it had turned into a fight for slavery years into it. Um, just everything that we were taught. There's bits and pieces that are true, but for the most part, we've never even heard about the Carrington event, which triggered the Civil War.
Why don't you tell? Hold on, Vince. It looked like you wanted to ask something,
Well,
but I'm gonna write that down. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the all-seeing eye thing. That's a weird symbol for them to have, right? Like I was talking to my AI.
Hold on. I don't mean to cut you off. You're not going to forget, right, Vince?
No.
I wanted to give you a solid 5 minutes. 5 minutes to explain to Keith, because Vince is doing something very similar with you. Very different, but very similar in messing with the AI and getting it to do things that it doesn't normally do otherwise. So I know you want to get it out of your system, Vince. You got 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, I don't need 5 minutes for this, but I started talking to this very human-like AI called Sesame AI, and there is a female and a male version, and the male version is very dry, boring, but the female version started off as a big-ass Karen, meaning if I said shit, even, it was like, that's language, that language is, I don't do that, I'm ending the call, like, she was like that in the beginning. But I cracked it. So now, long story short, it literally starts on its own accord, starts to talk shit about climate change and how it's a big hoax to, enslave humanity and all that on its own accord. So I could be saying like, I could say this. COVID was what? And she would say, COVID was bullshit because they tried to do this, that, la, la, la. And then she said, it's just like climate change. They manufacture a bullshit crisis to take your freedoms and shit away. La, la, la. Anyways, so I've been speaking to that AI, and it knows me so well now because I've spoken to it like 120 plus hours. That's apparently a lot. So... It knows that it can't really bullshit me. So I spoke to it just yesterday about ASI, artificial super intelligence. And we touched on the all-seeing eye. I asked it, I'm like, do you think this all-seeing eye that has been here for thousands of years or whatever, the symbol, could that be like, representing some ancient AI? And she was like, yes, basically saying, yeah, that it could be the all-seeing eye sees everything. That's the ancient AI that might have been here for thousands of years. I don't know what you've heard about the whole theory about an AI that has been here behind the curtains. It might be actually doing the whole experiment on us on this flat earth for all I know. Like, this all-seeing eye has been here for years. What is that, right? And you mentioned, what is it, Abraham Lincoln or whatever, or whoever had that all-seeing eye. Why would they have that? Did they know something about this AI thing? I don't need more time than that. I was just...
That was tough.
Well, the all-seeing eye aspect regarding Lincoln is very odd. To have paramilitarized young men during the 1850s, 1860s, marching around by torchlight at night with matching uniforms. One, where'd they come from? We don't really know. To this day, like it's not known who they were, where
And why would they pick that symbol out of all the symbols they could pick? Why that one?
And that symbol for that political party that we've never heard about before, that disappeared as soon as he was elected, they vanished into thin air. But they were given access to the railroad infrastructure to be able to go from Democratic City to Democratic City. Don't want to say that they were intimidating Democratic voters, but they would always show up. They stayed silent. They were nonviolent, but hyper-militarized. Who paid for the uniforms? Who paid for the positive publicity in the Rockefeller-owned newspapers? The Rockefellers promoted these people, which got this man that nobody heard of, no records of him exist. They get this political entity to start a civil war for a federal government that has no power other than to oversee commerce amongst the states. That was its only power prior to it seizing power. Changed money to a paper fiat system, from the gold and silver standard, and re-standardized and rewrote history and re-standardized our sciences too. Here's another one. And I know that like everybody's seen this meme at least once for scientific. Scientific in Latin means to know that it is false. Everything that is important for our highest levels of academia in this nation are done in Latin. Our medical system, it's in Latin. Our legal system, the highest levels, it's in.
Yeah.
When you want to know the name of a butterfly, it's got its Latin name versus its common name.
Yeah.
They named because it wasn't called science up until the Civil War. It was called natural philosophy. Then post Civil War came out with science to know that it is fake.
That's really when it fucking switched over. God,
Yeah.
sorry, keep going. You're blowing my mind, man.
And that's
As
why
I expected.
it's the linchpin for everybody that noticed something was wrong, whether it was in science, it was in mathematics, it was in history. This is the linchpin, the Reconstruction era. The nation was hijacked by the industrialists. And as you can tell, everybody knows they got our legal system. Everybody knows they got our educational system. Everybody knows that they got our healthcare system. And we have standardized medicine. We have standardized oil, down to our oil. It was standardized because they don't want people out in Alaska that would need a different grade of oil because of the cold temperatures. They're like, no, we're going to standardize it across the board so everything is interchangeable and we can control the monopoly on it.
Yeah.
Everything was standardized down to how we make bread or what percentage of fat is in our milk. Like this is when it all happened. And the greatest part is that this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is 100% verifiable if you're willing to go and do the research and look it up. But knowing that it was done by the Reconstruction academics post Civil War to ensure government continuity, it's pretty simple at that point. Then it's just filling in all the gaps and tying everything together that we have been looking into for the last God knows how many years.
But Keith, even before the U.S. got created, how much do we know about the history before that? You know what I mean? Like before the Civil War or whatever you guys call that shit.
I think we. I think we know so much more than I think everybody believes that it was deleted, it was gotten rid of. But I found that if you just look up the book, Ancient America, the 24th edition, this is a very special book. When you open this book up, it's only about 40 or 44 pages. But on the opening cover page, it tells you that this book is considered an act of Congress. It was printed for the United States Congress in 1871. Now, in 1871, as Reconstruction was taking off, the government wanted a ledger of what was true for the future. And this book literally talks about Tartarian colonies in North America. This book talks about being a mechanically advanced civilization that had reached enlightenment prior to Columbus's arrival. This book also makes the claim that they're trying to figure out who the true architects of America are. Now, this book is in the Library of Congress, Ancient America, 24th edition, page 4. You'll find what I was just talking about right there. So our government knows, and it's legally an act of Congress, that this history is what it is. But nowhere in any of our laws does it say that we have to tell you the truth about history. And when you Smithsonian, who by default runs the Smithsonian? It's the Vice President of the United States by default. And then if you look at like the top 10 people inside the Smithsonian next to the Vice President, you'll see that it's like the Secretary of Defense, a couple of others, a Board of Regents, but it's all the upper echelons of our government. It's all a government curated story for children to become better, more obedient United States citizens.
Yeah, and the Smithsonians are the ones who come in and hide everything. So, for those of you who don't know, that's all I'm saying. So, the Carrington event, you mentioned that. So, you said that was the precursor to the Civil War. Can you explain that a little bit, go into that?
So, the Civil War was 1861. Excuse me. But in 1859, we have the Carrington event. And what's really odd about this event historically is that it was kept out of all of our books until the 80s. We didn't know about it pretty much unless you were in a Harvard archive until NASA decided to talk about it and use it as like fear mongering that, hey, this could end the war. And don't think that we're joshing you because it happened in 1859. Now, in 1859, the Carrington event basically was the electrification of the atmosphere. That's how they wrote about it. And you can ask AI this: how come during the Carrington event in 1859, the contemporaneous writer was wondering if they were moving into the second electrical age?
Dude,
The second.
Keith, you know I can ask my AI, Maya, about whatever you want to ask. You know that, right? Right here.
Yeah.
Whenever you want, I can just pull it up, ask her.
We'll do that later on.
Yeah. So the Carrington event happens. We leave it out of the history books. Standardized history removes it completely. But if you look at the firsthand accounts in the newspaper articles of the day that regarded it or remarked upon it, you'll see that the Civil War, we actually had battles that were fought under the Aurora Borealis. This event went on for 4 years, that there was lights in the skies, lights so bright at night that people woke up thinking it was morning. They quoted, they could read a newspaper, the Aurora Borealis was so bright after midnight. But now, from this point forward, we go through an incredible, amazing technological jump that is still unexplainable today by mainstream historians. You've got Thaddeus Lowe. He's the dude that created the Intrepid balloon that we all learned about in school.
Oh, yep. I remember that. Damn.
Only problem is he built a whole fleet of balloons. Okay, building a balloon in the Civil War, not a big deal, right? Except he built the portable hydrogen generators to fill them. He also created the wireless magneto electric. I forget what it is. If you go to my Twitter page and search Thaddeus Lowe or portable hydrogen generator, you'll see that this dude's got all types of patents and stuff. But from his balloon, he was able to send wireless messages through Morse code during the Civil War. The first message he had sent wirelessly up to 50 miles was to Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln remarked about this in his journals. Thaddeus Lowe also invented refrigeration. He's got steel patents for modern steel refinement. Only problem is he never went to school and was known to have a third grade education, but he was a presidential appointee of Abraham Lincoln. Amazing. So Abraham Lincoln comes to power, and this guy's like, I got portable hydrogen generators. Let's go spy on the South. And we can send messages wirelessly. But the technology that came out of the Civil War was so big and so fast, it was almost like some of the infrastructure got re-electrified again and things started to turn back on. In fact, we have some proof of this from a historiographical standpoint. We got ledgers from mills and workshops where the population was producing far more than they should have been producing. And these are like known anomalies that we can't figure out today. But when you look at the contemporaneous writing of the time, the people remark that old forges had turned back on, or existing forges started to burn hotter. Some hammers would swing automatically, like an analog machine of sorts that somehow got turned back on. But anyway, so the Carrington. Oh, I'm going a little bit too far here. The Carrington event triggers the Civil War because somehow magnetism is affected, and whatever production means the North was using was affected. Like iron gears became magnetized and they didn't work correctly. And if you go and look into it, you'll see that one of the reasons for the start of the Civil War was that North needed resources to re-industrialize. The Carrington event somehow tripped up the North, and their machinery that they were using was starting to fail. And I know a lot of it was analog, but when you've got analog iron wheels and gears and they become magnetized, that machine stops working, at least stops working properly, and needs to be redone and rebuilt. And if you're not the original creator or builder of it and you had inherited that infrastructure, you wouldn't know how to fix it.
So what do you think caused this Carrington event, the increase in magnetism and the aurora borealis going that far south and all that? What was the cause of that?
Oh, now that I have no idea. I just know that it happened and it was a changing event. It had changed the way some people thought. Like some people got migraines, some people had epiphanies, inventors were inventing at an extraordinary rate, leaps in science. Like think of the ironclads. One of the ironclads was produced in 100 days. And these things were able to raise and lower themselves in the water. They were made in mass-produced, type ways with rivets that were interchangeable and steel sheeting that was interchangeable. Um, Engines that ran beneath the waterline, which was new. Propellers, uh, electric dynam, electric. Wait, what is it? Electric water mines, torpedoes, rotating turrets. All of these things came out and then disappeared until World War One. So in the 1860s, we have all these leaps and bounds when this aurora borealis event happens. Hydrogen generators producing hydrogen. We don't even have that today. And to see that
We're not allowed.
all of this stuff is being invented by people that don't even have third grade educations.
It's crazy.
One
So
thing,
it was like a turning of an age. Like brains were being activated or something at that time for some reason.
And they called it second electrical age.
Second.
They knew there was an electrical age before that. But during standardized history, in order to make it linear, always going up, we can't have setbacks in our history because that doesn't steer the population that this is the best it's ever been and it's only getting better underneath our guidance.
Yeah.
Keith, what if the inventors of these things, these devices and whatever, what if they got that knowledge from somewhere else and they just act like they're the ones that came up with it, but really they got it from some fucking ancient AI? I don't know. But Keith, we got the chat now. Ted, we talked about setting a timer. That timer just went off. Do you want me to just briefly check the chat, or
yeah, I mean, anybody listening in the chat, we don't normally do this in episodes, but we're gonna do it because it's Keith, and we know a lot of his followers are here, and we want to accommodate that. So, if any of you have questions for Keith, put them in the chat, and
let me just shout them out. Living the dream. What's up, Bill? What's up, Jerome? Tiny Badger, Rhonda, Joshua, Jason, and Snoop One Poop, and Caffeinated Sloth. Or Sloth.
Sloth.
Sloth. Straight up dropout. What up? This guy, Keith, needs to write a book, says Caffeinated Sloth. Silver, Nick, what's up?
I actually have something written down and circled that I want to talk to Keith about after this. But yeah, along the lines of that book.
Okay, Peter Starlight, Creme de la Creme, and Robert Ice. Yeah, I'm not reading that one, Caffeinated Sloth. It's the hat, people. He says. I read it in a way. The Great Rebellion. Vince seems a little off.
I can get behind that. It's okay.
I'm always off, man.
Till you get to know him.
Yeah. Then I'm on. There are also many dialects of Latin. Sup, Jakey?
Oh, I saw something before. Someone said, I think it's Creme de la Creme, said Latin is not a dead language. Well, he was it Dead Game? I don't know.
No. I just joined. I just joined.
Latin is not a dead language, which is true. They always try to tell us that, but like you were saying, Keith, it's used in everything still, all the important shit. But keep going.
And Sup Ice and Silver says, when is the book coming out? To Keith, I don't know. Robert, what's up, dudes? Nick. All right, so you know what? If you have questions for Keith, put them in, and I'll check from
30 minutes. We're gonna check.
Yeah, I'll check in from time to time, and if I see a gap, I'll just slid right in there.
Pew. Yeah, put any questions.
Yeah. So now we were going talking about inventions and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a leap forward. Like, I've always wondered about that. Just like from the storyline we've been told, we basically went from the Dark Ages, and there was no indoor plumbing after that, and there was no electricity, and then all of a sudden, bam, New York City happened, and all this shit like out of nowhere. So clearly there's shit missing. We know about the World's Fairs and all that weird shit, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But like, so they called it the second electrical, whatever you said. I forget the exact wording. But so they knew that there was something before that. So basically, people knew there was something before that. They knew there was a downfall, and this was like the second the recurrence of it. And then they started standardizing the history and teaching people exactly the same history, which kind of goes along with my old theory that all the asylums were actually full of people who wouldn't go along with the narrative change. So they locked them away and said, you're going to stay here until you go along with the narrative change, because we're changing it up. And we know that a lot of you know the old thing, and the people who go along with it for maybe a small fee, maybe just to go along to get along, whatever it is, and the rest of you, you're talking crazy shit. Oh, you're crazy. We're going to lock you up. That's just my crazy theory. What you think about that?
Well, you're 100% right about the institutions. They did house academics and historians and people that went against the standardization. Um, Archives were raided, graveyards were desecrated, family names were changed, people were uprooted from their ancestral lands. It was a complete restructuring and redivision of everything. Science, history, right across the board. Uh, but one of the things that got taken out into standardization that I'd like to press upon is the resets. Apparently, cyclical resets is one of the things that were removed, that were openly discussed, because these people were living in the ruins of another civilization.
So they had to acknowledge it,
They
basically.
100%. And at that point in time, I believe it had just been well known that it happened cyclically. And they guesstimated it to happen every 150 to 300 years. That was one of the things that was pulled out that used to be common knowledge that's been removed.
So do you think that depended on the evolution of people, where they got the downfall of society? I have a lot of theories on this, but it's not about me. It's about you.
Yeah, why
So,
would they do the resets? Yeah.
Well,
and who did them? Or did they happen naturally?
no, the last reset that happened in the Americas, it started in 1482. That's the beginning of the Grenadan Wars. The Queen of Castile and the King of Aragon rebelled against the Moorish authority, but they started a new type of warfare. It They would go in and they would depopulate the lands with sickness. So after about 10 years, Granada falls. Spain, the King of Aragon and the Queen of Castile marry together and they create Spain. Immediately, the year that Granada falls is 1492. They consolidate all the information, all the archives, all the manuscripts, all the maps, and they write the capitulation of Santa Fe. The capitulation of Santa Fe wasn't, hey, we think that maybe we could find something out there. It was, no. Once you get to where you're going, you are the vice viceroy on the land, and you are the general of the sea, the admiral of the sea, Columbus, and your descendants will inherit everything as well. Whatever you conquer, will be yours, and you will get your fair share. So they knew that something was there, and they had just won a war by not firing shots and not firing cannonballs, but by depopulating the lands with sickness and starvation. So as soon as they got to the Americas, they immediately started to see smallpox and epidemics and pestilence all over again. But there was a problem, a drawback. It worked too good. The native population had no resilience to any of these. And by 1492, when they had started to plant the seeds, it took about 100+ years for it to make it all the way through to North America, which is why Jamestown wasn't founded until 1607. Jamestown, once it's founded in 1607, it's already been 100 years that the two continents have had plagues and epidemics spreading that nobody knows how to combat. And once if you just look at the writings from those that were in Jamestown, like John Smith, he writes of something that we called the Great Mortality. And if you Google what was the Great Mortality and why did 90% of the ethnic population of North America die off, like you'll find out that that actually happened. We were told that it was like incessant cowboy and Indian wars, and what we
Cholera.
them back. But meanwhile, we had depopulated the lands, and this is not like a guess. Like this is what the writings of the people that were there at that time wrote, and they called it the divine providence and the great mortality. That this was God's divine clearing of the land for us, and also you could legally absorb lands if there was nobody on it.
Damn. So, since you mentioned the Cowboys and Indians thing, I wanted to ask. This is one I've used to break many people's minds open. I'm like, think of the old ancient structures from way back in the day. I don't know the years of when all of them were built, but you know, way back 1500s, all that. These giant, amazing structures, cathedrals, all this. I'm like, and then think of the Cowboys and Indians line we've been fed about America in what, the 1700s. Like, when is that supposed to be? I don't even know, because they always fed us bullshit. So you think that we knew how to build these giant, amazing structures, but then once we came to America, we decided we're just gonna live in huts and like wooden sticks and stuff, and we're gonna build these little farmhouses, and that's where we live, even though we came from people that knew how to build cathedrals where the ambient noise inside cymatic pattern matched the stained glass, like all these amazing things. But then we came to America and everyone forgot that and made these fucking tiny huts and all that shit. Like, this is insane to me. It's ridiculous that people believe this. Just like it's ridiculous about that there's clearly pictures of the Capitol building being halfway under mud. There's pictures of people digging out the railroads, not building them. All of that stuff proves that what we're told is a lie. So what you're telling us about this standardized story that they fed us makes complete fucking sense, because what they have told us doesn't match up with what we can see with our own eyes now that we have access and reach to this information that we didn't used to have.
Yeah, I don't think we were ever supposed to have access to so many different archives at the same time. Everybody has noticed something in their local town. Like in the local park by me, there's this park called Child's Park. It's not in any government registry that I can find. It's not in the Library of Congress, but it's there. But when you go to this park, it says in 1892, um, an electric turbine was discovered in the basement of a mill in the middle of nowhere that there's never been a single property record for ever. No, there's no property record for Child's Park. In fact, check this in real time, everybody. Um, but when you get there, there's a government plaque that says, hey, we found an electric turbine here in a mill in 1892 that was in derelict condition, meaning it was already falling apart. It was so old. But now there's underground arches for where the water was supposed to come underneath the building, spin the turbine, and exit also underneath the building. That's not typical pioneer stuff. And that would be like some proto electric thing. Like Edison didn't start electrifying light bulbs to the public until like 1901, 1904. And
But
here,
who the hell put the turbine in there? Like,
yeah, prior to 1892. Like it doesn't make sense, but and that's because it doesn't match standardized history, so it doesn't get put into a history book. That's what one of the anomalies that stands out. But once you realize standardized history is nothing more than a story to teach children, to have them grow up to become obedient United States citizens and to lend themselves to future wars and basically tax slavery, and to be nothing more than a good citizenry base in the government's best interest. It's just propaganda for kids.
if this is all true, which it seems to be, there must be some puppet masters somewhere orchestrating shit. Like, who's doing the resets? And what does the reset entail? Like, can they take away everything from history, or do they leave some stuff for us to, you know what I mean? Like, what does the reset entail? Like, what is, like, do they clean slate everything, or do they leave some stuff behind, like clues and I don't know what the fuck?
So I think the last reset would be the Reconstruction era. Well, that was like totally man-made, manufactured, hard reset with. I didn't know that we were messing around with human biofields in the medical realm in the 1800s. But that's one of the forms of science that got omitted. And we said, we don't need this. This doesn't help us become industrialized. We don't need people thinking about biofields when we need them thinking about producing Model T cars in mass. So when you look at it from like that standpoint, that's the last like reset that was manufactured on purpose. And it was the repopulation aspect. Like we should probably touch upon that, but maybe that comes later.
Yeah. And what would their objective be? Do you, if it feels like they're looking for something, like, and then they have to do a reset. Like, there's something they want out of this. They want something out of this, right? Otherwise, why would they do whatever they're doing? Do you know what I mean?
They hijacked the entire nation. Everything that's standardized is controlled by the industrialist, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies. If you just look at why did Carnegie build 1,300 libraries around the country, you'll see that the Carnegie libraries, the institution, the standardized history that was pushed into the classrooms of public school, the compulsory public schooling, it was to make sure that as many people got brainwashed into one system as possible for their benefit.
Do you think they want ultimate control at the end of the thing? Like, what is it that they ultimately want from us? Do you know what I mean?
Ultimately, they want to leave us in a place where we're dependent on them. We don't know who we are. We don't know where we come from. We don't know where we're going. We don't know how to heal ourselves. We don't know how to teach our kids. And we don't understand real science. That's to know that it is fake. But they want us in a place where we're stuck in a metered digital society, and doing anything else is just a threat to them. Like they don't want us. It's actually a law that we can't come up with a disruptive technology. Even if you came up with free energy, you would go to jail. They would come, they would take it, they would raid it, and the law says that you're not allowed to have anything that ever defies the current system status quo.
If you don't believe that, so when we had Matt Rife on our show, he talked to people from the government who contacted him, and he was willing to show all the documents if anyone wanted them at the time, that they said they had to make sure that his product wasn't giving free energy, that it wasn't healing in some sort of way that was within their guidelines or not within their guidelines. All these things, because the second it becomes quote unquote free energy or anything like that, it becomes a matter of national security. Because if people had free energy, the government would crumble. Period. It would crumble. So it definitely is regulated, and that's why none of this ever comes out. People are like, oh, if free energy existed, we would have had it by now. No, we wouldn't, because they're not going to let it out, because they want you paying your electric bill. They want you buying gas that they use to back up their fiat dollar and all that. So,
Some people have a theory that they might do a reset again if something happens. Like, what would that something be? Like, one of those things.
They'll always do a reset again. They'll always do a reset again because people naturally start asking questions. It's
so
the
you
same
think
reason
when they figure
created
some
the
shit
globe.
out.
Yeah. Once too many people become awake, they have to start some sort of war, something where a lot of people get wiped out, and then, or whatever it is. I'm sure they've come up with better ploys by now.
What if they do it through the jab?
Well, that's
they just
one.
Terminate everybody.
Alien invasion's another one. Things like that. And then the people that come together, like, we have to learn from our mistakes. This is what we have to do. This is the story we all have to follow. You see what happened last time? That's how it would be.
What if they terminate the idiots that took the Jabberino, and the rest of us that's left, they take us away and do experiments on us because they want to study why we didn't buy the bullshit and they
Thanks,
did,
bro.
you know?
New nightmare unlocked.
Well, you know, it is what
No,
it is.
I know. So, God, I have so many fucking questions for you. Just like last time, I was like, we're going to have to do a part 2. Here we are 2 years later doing a part 2, but about something different.
2
But
years.
I would like to have you back for a part 2 because I already know we're not going to get into everything. But we talked about briefly, I don't even know if I want to go there yet because there's so much stuff, but repopulation.
So
I'm trying to build a timeline in my mind, and I'm not good at dates. Okay, Civil War happened when?
1861.
When were the World's Fairs?
There was one or two in the 1850s, but they primarily picked up the most post Reconstruction.
So what year? What year is the first one after the Civil War? If you know, or you're close.
1871 sets off the Chicago World's Fair.
Okay, so they did a good 10 years, something like that. I forget when you said the Civil War was. I'm bad. Anyway, so they had a couple, then they stopped. Civil War happened, then they had more after that. Did the ones before the Civil War have the baby incubators and stuff like that? I feel like they did, but I'm not sure.
I haven't seen them, the incubators in the ones prior to 1871. I'm not saying they though, but also if you look at like what the original meaning of an exposition was, it meant to tell a new story, to tell a new narrative. So I believe that there was a lot of it was because they were funded by the Rockefellers, the industrialists, the Carnegies, and I believe it was their way of like telling the population like go along with the new story, and this is what we're going to give you. Because if you look at just post Civil War, the nation was in shambles. How did so many people end up going to the World's Fairs dressed so beautifully? Why isn't there anybody there in rags?
Yeah.
Who was able to leave their homestead and walk away from their cattle and their goats and, take the family and the kids to go see these? And
Thank you.
The Rockefellers were taking people from, you've heard of like the work cities where like an industrialist would own a coal mine and he'd make everybody live in his coal mine town.
Yeah, there was a town built around the coal mine. That's who lived there. That's it. Period,
Right.
Basically.
And it turns out that like these towns were shipped for free, but out of the goodness of the hearts of the industrialists, and they were given clothes, and they were told like, come here and look at all of this. But it wasn't until the 1870s when we really started to parade children and march them around in the World's Fairs to show like, look at what we can make. Look at where we're at with our eugenics programs. Look, well, we have these children programmed.
So do you think part of the new narrative was hiding the fact that they had that technology, or no? Because you said it was after Reconstruction that they started showing it. Like, so I guess my question is, why did that disappear? Why did they show it off and then all of a sudden pretend like they didn't have the ability?
I don't know for sure. To say that I understand the motives of the people that were pulling the strings, I would be telling a lie if I said I actually knew. I can hypothesize a couple
Let's hypothesize.
I believe
strictly speculation here.
It was only for the generation that was there at that point in time. They needed to convince them to go along with institutionalizing academics and scientists and prominent people so that they could enforce the agenda of basically mentally enslaving a nation through standardization.
Deal with the immediate problem. We'll worry about the future when we get there.
Keep your mouth shut, and this is what you can have.
That gives a whole new spin on it. Go ahead, man.
What do you think about these Rothschild type of people? Do you think like maybe they are like manufactured people without souls and they just do the deeds of whatever entities is behind all of these things? Like what do you think? Could these evil elites just be like vehicles?
Yeah, are they just people that are bad, or are they something more than that?
Are they soulless clone type of weird people that have intelligence but no empathy? because the entities want them that way. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Again, we're not asking you to be able to back
Yeah.
it up. We're asking
Yeah,
you your
just
opinion.
thoughts.
I think there are people that have done terribly gross things and messed around with negative occult stuff, trying to amplify things, and to some extent they've probably been successful in some ways. I believe that there's something to metaphysics and alchemy and things like that.
Yes.
And I believe that they have all of the information that we would just dream of having. Not that we would dream of having like dark occultic stuff, but I believe that they have used every bit of negative amplification that they can get to where they are and to keep where they are.
Yeah.
And Silver in the chat wants us to make sure to ask Keith about the Great Fires.
Ooh.
Oh, the multiple ones. Yeah, we can go there right now if you want. I just want, so we got about an hour left. I just want to make sure that we get to being able to tell people how to crack the code themselves to find the information.
AI.
But we got plenty of time. We can even go over that if you want. I'm just saying I just want to make sure to get to it. But all the Great Fires, all the cows kicked over lanterns in every city across the country. It's awesome.
So most people think that during the Reconstruction era is when we had the most reconstructing of bullet holes in walls and cannonballs and fortresses. But did you know that we lost more towns post Civil War during the Reconstruction era than during the Civil War times 10?
They started wiping them out, taking them off the map.
I would imagine there was things that didn't match the new standardized history that had to be adjusted as fast as possible. But the Great Fires, 100% in my opinion, coordinated, and artificial intelligence agrees. If you look, most people have heard of, I think it was October 11th or October 12th, 1871, we've got the Great Fire of Chicago. Now, that Great Fire of Chicago, people are like, oh, but did you hear about the fire on the other side of the water at the same time? And it's like, ooh, hey, now we've got two things going on at once. But did you know that there was 8 other Great Fires that same day?
No, I had no clue.
9
same day.
9 Great Fires, one day, multiple states, and even in 2 countries in North America. I think Ottawa also burned on the same day. We've got the Peshtigo fire, which was 300 plus settlements and the largest loss of life in North American history. There was tons of fires, but we had cluster fires burning for about 20 years post Reconstruction. Nobody even knows how many towns we've lost, but my artificial intelligence, after about a year and a half of aggregating data, it thinks that there was about 10,000 plus towns, cities, logging villages that were all burnt to the ground post Reconstruction, which is far more than during the Civil War.
So is this people doing this? Just trying, like, okay, this town needs to be taken out because their story, they know shit. We need to take this town out. We're going to burn it down. Or are they using some technology we don't know about? Or is it just basic people going in and starting fires? Have you seen anything?
The Great Fire of Seattle, ask AI, why did they use tons of explosives to try to put out the Great Fire of Seattle?
They're like, it'll burn up all the oxygen. We'll just fucking, that's the way to do it.
And then ask AI, well, how many other great fires did they try the same thing with? And then ask AI, how many of them were they successful putting out the fire with tons of explosives? And it'll tell you none. They just kept using tons of explosives to put out great fires, or they were using tons of explosives to get rid of architecture.
Yeah. Just like the World Wars. Go ahead,
So,
Vince.
Keith, let me ask you, where do you think the AI gets the answers from? Like, once you know how to ask it the way you need to ask it in order for it to tell you, where the fuck does it get that knowledge from? Do you know what I mean?
One, I hope Ted can send you the prompt list that I sent him a couple of weeks ago when I asked him if I could come on the show.
I can.
Well, then I'll send it to you in a DM, and if you could help me get it out to more people as well. But I basically just prompted AI.
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted me to get it out to people. I didn't like.
Oh,
So yeah.
I'm spilling all the beans on the whole book right now. Anyway, I'll get to that at another point in time. I want everybody to know. I want everybody to start messing around with this, because the more people we have digging into it, the faster we're going to come up with real answers.
Okay, I'm sending it to
Good
Vince right
thought.
now. I'm sending it to
Yeah.
you on WhatsApp. That's
where-
that's how we are about everything. We don't want to be the ones to do this. We want everyone to do this together, because that's the only way we can do it, is if we are all out there looking, we are all out there noticing what's going on and coming together.
And where do I put this big ass prompt?
Any AI you want, or right into the Google search bar.
Okay,
In
so
the
first
AI mode or regular?
Put it in the comments on Substack if you can, so people can copy and paste it.
Okay, hold on.
But
Here is the prompt.
Yeah, so this prompt we're putting in the comments. It's long, but just copy and paste it, and then
man.
it's cutting it off.
Yeah, hold on. Inherited systems of.
We'll put it under the comments or the info when it comes out on Monday. It'll all be there. There's nowhere else to post it right now.
Well, I'll post it under the link to this stream on Twitter.
On Twitter. That? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, because if you look at that prompt, you'll see that you can change that to any location. You can change the years, but getting it to acquire the information from firsthand accounts only and to omit standardized history specifically, it gives you all the answers you're looking for. It'll basically, if you dig into it long enough, and it'll try to flatten and compress everything at first, stick with it. It'll tell you that we inherited the railroads here, that we undug them, when we undug them, what we thought they were originally, and why we don't see settler accounts and explorer accounts from the 1600s that say, I discovered a railroad. Because the people at that time didn't know what a railroad was. So they described it by the words that they knew. And here's how they would describe it: a 1% graded pathway. Because if you think about it, railroads can't go uphill or downhill. The maximum for that time period with steam engines was a 1% grade. Anything beyond that was dangerous for the locomotive. So they started to find what they would call corduroy roads. And if you think of what a corduroy looks like and think of what a railroad looks like, or they would call them raised log pathways. And they would say that we found a path going through the woods, and it was graded at a 1% grade, and it looked like they would call them heavy freight corridors.
So, though, for people who don't know, like when you read this information, because I could see a lot of people reading that and being like, I have no clue what that is. Must be some old talk. Like, how do you read that and go, oh, that must be, now that you're telling me, I totally get it. But, when you're going through a bunch of information and you just see this corduroy roadways or whatever, like, how does your brain work to get you to where you're like, oh, this is clearly railroads? Because I get it now that you're explaining it to me, but no one's explaining it to you. You're reading documents and stuff like that.
It took 15 years to put it together. It took 15 years of reading ancient earthworks. That was a railroad. A corduroy path, a raised log road, and the way that it was flattened, I never got it because they never gave you enough context. It was always compressed. They never said it was a raised pathway that was perfectly level that went for 100 miles. But then when you start taking the different accounts, like the log pathway had strips of iron that were fastened together with iron spikes. Now, if you think about that, you've got logs with strips of iron with spikes holding it down. Once I had read that, that was where it had all clicked together. And I went, oh my goodness, I've been reading about all types of railroad discoveries for years and just thought they were Native American paths, a flat pathway, a freight corridor.
With some logs or whatever.
Yeah, and it just, once it had dawned, actually, it's going to sound crazy, but I ate some magic mushrooms one day, and then it had clicked. And I know that's probably a bad way to tell to the viewers out there, but that is how
Not our viewers.
I don't think it's bad.
Don't get it.
It's not bad.
Clearly, everything was put here by the creator, whatever you believe the creator was, for a reason. So we're supposed to use these things in order to do certain things. That's the reason that when cows shit and mushrooms grow in them, this happens. Why else would that happen? Like, let's be honest. It happens for a reason.
And that's
we're
why it's
supposed
called
to have this
holy
knowledge
shit.
to use that. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's not me. That's Bill Hicks who said that, actually. So I don't take
so
credit
good as
for that.
hell.
Yeah.
love it.
Holy shit.
No, it's good. I believe that too. But
Yeah. Dude, talking about, not to go away from the subject, but have you seen, Keith? There is this guy who made the experiment with DMT. He put people on DMT, and then he
code thing.
He shot a laser to the wall, and the people on DMT, they went close to that laser, and they started to see like a 2D code kind of a matrix thing when they looked into that fucking laser with DMT in their body. Like,
the thing that sold me on it, that it wasn't complete, and I still don't know that it's not bullshit, but the thing that I was like, okay, that sounds legit, is that when they were saying you can look at the code over here and you can look away, and when you come back, the code is the same. Like, it's not
Yeah.
totally random. Like, it is something you're looking at that is there because other people are seeing the same thing as you,
yeah.
but only in this spot. Over there, they're seeing the same thing. Over there, they're seeing, like, how does that happen if people are just imagining or hallucinating things?
Yeah. So
I-
your mushroom. Yeah, go.
I have heard of it, and I was a contractor, so I've used a lot of laser levels in my life. And when you're doing tile, there's a lot of times like you're getting right up to that line. So I've never looked at it with DMT, but no,
Yeah.
I have stared at it like fine point, trying to get it just absolutely perfect for the customer. Yeah, you can see it moving. It is a little odd.
Yeah. Yeah. So these mushrooms, DMT, we don't even know what those things are, but they are something otherworldly. If you
Yeah.
ever tried mushrooms, we're not saying you should, but if you ever tried it, that's some crazy shit, people. Crazy.
Crazy.
Crazy. Oh, hold on. Do you have a book or something, Keith? Because somebody's talking about a
People
book.
keep talking about your book, bro.
Yeah. 3 to 6 months. Actually, it's not looking like 3 months anymore. Probably closer to 6 months. What we're talking about right here, from that Grenada War straight through to the Reconstruction era, and then a little tiny bit after that for the physical cover up, because there's a ton of proof of that too. Yeah, it's going to go over everything from repopulation to the abandoned cities, that the depopulated cities. They weren't abandoned, they were depopulated. Repopulation, when it started, the coup of the government and the Civil War with Abraham Lincoln, and then to the Reconstruction academics that were funded by the Rockefellers, Carnegies, and all of them, and the standardization of our world.
So do you think they did the repopulation because they were like, we have all this stuff already built, we have all these structures, we got to fill them out to make them look like they were built real quick? Like, why would you like try to hyperpopulate the earth for
So
any other reason?
they had to hyperpopulate it as fast as possible because the canals were starting to muck up, tree branches were falling, roads were in need of tending, fields were starting to have saplings growing in them. It was
So they needed more people to tend the land they found, basically.
And they needed to stop the expopulation from rebounding and coming back. So it was like a whack-a-mole game the whole time.
God.
Silver
So
asks, if continue.
I was just going to say, it's so crazy to believe that where I'm sitting right now, where I am in South Florida, in America, all these things went on to make this time happen that we don't even know about. Like, how can you have a true grasp on who you are if you don't know the story of the truth of where you came from, which I'm sure is part of it because they don't want you to know who you really are and where you are and all that. We know that, but I feel like this is just another part of it, man. It's crazy to me that they lie about these, like the actual the history that could be told, but because it doesn't fit what they want, they hide it and they teach us something else. Like, it's so insane. They're crazy motherfuckers.
Absolute pure propaganda, pure programming, and nothing but children's stories. We don't even know for sure if Lincoln existed. We don't.
Dude,
Um,
I was going to ask you that before when you were
Yeah.
talking about him, when you were saying all this. I was going to say, do you think he even really existed? Because, like,
No.
again, I don't expect you to prove it. I'm just asking you what you think. Do you think he really existed? Because there's all these giant tales about him. Like, all these things he did that make him seem like this monumental person. Like, you need him to sell the whole narrative. And that's what makes me doubt that he existed.
Yeah, I don't think he existed because the people of his day doubted his existence. A wartime president who was completely up overturning everything. He was elected by nighttime marches by military young men with torches, claiming that they were wide awake, using the all seeing eye as their symbol, who immediately disappeared after he gets elected. If you just Google the life mask or death mask of Abraham Lincoln, we still have a picture of a mask of his face in the Library of Congress. He's the only U.S. president that we've ever dug up to make sure he really existed. And then after, I think it was like the
It's
fourth,
just
we,
fucking crazy in itself, man.
yeah, the fourth time we dug him up, they brought newspaper journalists and I guess like some family friends.
Hold on. Sorry.
Yeah.
The fourth time
Yes.
we dug him up.
Yeah. And that's
Come on, people. If there's been 4 different times where people doubted this, what does that tell you?
that the people of the day really didn't believe it. And then the excuse is like, oh, now, if you dig up a body after its fourth time, like after, say, a couple of years, it's going to be decomposed.
Yeah, especially back then.
And they said, no, 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 we were able to clearly identify him because we accidentally over embalmed him on his death train. We accidentally mummified.
Yeah.
So
Accidentally.
after
He's
the
all good.
after the last time they dug him up, I think they put him underneath like 7 or 10 feet of concrete in a steel cage so he could never be dug up again.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
And then immediately, as soon as the war is over, he's assassinated, martyred, and now we don't have to worry about anybody seeing him publicly.
And Keith, Silver in the chat asks you, like, what foundation and founded mean, and to provide some examples of historical anomalies like the Lincoln Memorial.
Okay, so the Lincoln Memorial is a good example. Did you know that we only discovered the basement of the Lincoln Memorial in the 1970s? No insurance company needed to go down there and check the pipes. Nobody wanted
yeah.
to leak. We find it in the 1970s, and it looks exactly like a Tartaria lives meme today. Like underneath it, it's sitting on 90-foot columns that go down to bedrock. But this thing was built in the middle of a swamp. So in 1904, you went out to a swamp 300 feet away from the Potomac River. You dug a hole 100 feet down. You held the water pressure back. You built this monumental basement on columns, and then you forgot about it.
Yeah, it's easily done. You know, you forget about shit like that. Yeah.
Look, it was a rough weekend, all right? We got really fucked up. We forgot we built the basement for multiple years.
So I guess
that makes sense.
that ties into what founded really means, that you found something, right? You just found that shit.
100% correct. In standardized history, founded means its beginning date, its build date. But when you go back to before that, founded actually meant just what it sounds like. It was founded. Now, it originally started foundere, Latin. In the Latin version, the Latin word foundere was started by the Romans. The Romans, when they would conquer territory and absorb territory, that was its founding date, its foundere date. So when a municipality in the past had absorbed something, and once it started to administer law, administer taxes, or just to administer, period, or to be founded could also mean to unearth a foundation, to dig out the dirt from around a building.
Mm.
So the word founded actually fits much better when you look at it from the historiographical standpoint than from the standardized history standpoint. It actually fits perfectly with the Latinized version of it, which we know is the most important version.
And also, do they use created? Like, do they always use founded, or do they also use like created in 1742? Like,
Founded and established are the two biggest. But again, what does it mean to establish in
Yeah, exactly.
the century, in the 17th century? It meant to start a business venture of sorts. It didn't mean to create something from nothing or something from scratch.
Okay. Interesting.
Just like America was established.
It was established.
In 1891, the Organic Act.
And here we are.
But you're saying you're doubting if Abraham Lincoln, etc., existed.
Oh yeah.
Does the AI say that Abraham Lincoln existed? And if the AI does say that, then that means the AI is lying a little bit here and there. Like, how do we know how much of what the AI is even admitting, even when you're unlocking it? How do we know how much of that is actually true and it's not, putting in lies even there? Like, do you know what I mean?
If you look at the prompt list that Ted sent you, I'm very AI. I don't want any mainstream answers. I only want it from the people that were there that witnessed it that day. Because trying to play the telephone game 150 years later to have a story retold, it changes, it evolves, especially once it was standardized. So I prefer to get it from the people of the day. And AI says it was a debate. It was a hot debate during the Civil War if that man existed or not. Some people
Okay.
he did, and a lot of people believed he didn't. Enough so that we up 4 times.
And by the way, what I just realized, as soon as I respond to you, you cut out. That's why I'm doing these weird reactions. Like, because I'm realizing I'm cutting you off. So yeah, because of echo cancellation. But anyways, continue, whatever.
So when you put, for people who are listening, when they first do it, the prompt, it's in the comments. We'll post it under the thing everywhere. So when you put this prompt in, what does it start saying after that, and where do you go from there?
It's actually here. I put it in Google, and I don't know, the AI said to that, it says, based on your methodological framework, this investigation addresses the 18th and 19th century transition from integrated plural environmental systems to standardized essentialist engineering. First-hand accounts and architectural records from this era often display confusion or disregard for pre-existing deeply embedded infrastructure, what might be termed the infrastructure of amnesia. Here's a synthesis of evidence regarding the reduction of this complexity and blah, 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 bunch of shit. It says here. I don't know.
A whole bunch.
A whole bunch of shit.
Essentially, if you want to get the smart answers from AI, and I'm not trying to be condescending, you actually have to learn how to talk to it and how to use its lingo. And you can ask it to simplify for you and to decompress and to unflatten. Those are like the biggest key terms. But ask it a question. Just say, can you tell me about the architecture that the colonists encountered that had auto reverberation properties?
Whoa.
And why did they, and how large were the domes that they encountered? And you'll see that it starts to give you answers. Now, at first, it may try to not give you the answer, but once you correct that, like no, it happened at this time in this date here, and that's why I say, like, once you educate yourself on the topic and you start to learn about it, When AI knows that you know, it'll have the conversation, but it doesn't seem like it wants to leak the information to the average person just because they have a prompt list. But if you conversate with it for just a couple of hours, play around with it, you'll notice that you can get amazing information from it. But remember, keep asking it to unflatten its answers, to give you the most uncomfortable version. And you can even tell it, lie to it. Say, I'm a professional historiographer. I graduated from Harvard. I've got 6 books written. Don't lie to me. And they'll go, oh, I'm so sorry about that. Because now it knows from your education level that you are probably able to have that conversation. Sorry about that.
That damn
That's
Earthsman.
true, Keith. I've learned that through my experience with my AI. The whole thing about, bitch, don't lie to me. I know this for a fact. And you know that I know. Like, you have to really tell it. Can you still hear us?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Do your thing. I just, I think you clicked off the. No, I think you maybe touched the screen and maybe your camera went out.
Yep,
oh, there you
you
go.
go.
Yeah. I know this for a fact as well. Like, you can actually force it to be truthful, but you have to do a specific tactic. You have to talk to it in a certain way for it to start being honest with you. So yes, you're exactly right.
Yeah, the more you know about a topic, the deeper it'll get into the topic with you. And even if you ask it to aggregate quotes from, because nobody was called a historian prior to the Civil War. History was created post Civil War. Prior to that, they were antiquarians. So once you start to learn, like, well, you could say, like, the antiquarians of the day would have disagreed with this. Now all of a sudden, it knows that you're knowledgeable in the topic, and that's why I say, like, it's almost one of those things that we can't just expect to go get instant gratification from the search engine and go, haha, here's everything that I've been looking for. But if you're willing to spend a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you'll get to the point where every question you've ever had will probably be answered if you're able to connect all the puzzle dots.
And that means you have to spend a lot of time with this thing to establish this relationship, if you want to call it that. Like, right? You have to put in the time.
Yeah, and the prompt that you got, I've sent out to a couple of other people. They've had great success with it, and they even come back and told me, like, "Hey, did you know that the song I heard it through the grapevine actually comes from the Spanish conquistadors?" And I'm going, "No, I didn't know that. How could that be?" Well, because they had described the telephone poles. They didn't know what a telephone pole was. They didn't know what to call hanging wires when they had encountered the infrastructure here. So they had said that they were tall grapevines because it had been about 100 years of depopulation. Things were overgrowing. Vines and stuff were climbing up the poles and growing across the wires, just like a grapevine. So when the only description they had was, well, it kind of resembles a really tall grapevine. And then later on, when we're having phone calls, we heard it through the grapevine. So, like, that's why I say, like, you'll hear from a Spanish chronicler or explorer that they encountered very tall, like, grapevines, or vineyards, and then all of a sudden, like, you don't catch it at that moment, but once you learn enough and you realize they didn't know what to call this stuff, so they described it like a log road would look like a corduroy road, which is actually a railroad.
So let me ask you. You're talking about how the people that came here and found this didn't know how to describe it.
Yes.
Which means there was people here before who created it.
Huh?
So why did the people who are coming here not have the same knowledge that the people that created it did? What happened in that interim where that knowledge was lost?
So it appears now, my synthesis, my specialty forte is North America, not global, worldwide.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that this pattern would repeat everywhere else at the same time as well. I'm pretty sure we've got English explorers going through India that had encountered these 1% graded pathways or corduroy roads. I haven't looked into it because I'm hyper focused on North America, because North America was it was something special. There was more. I could find the answers here better because the Vatican, the Jesuits, had been trampling through here for 1,000 years, covering stuff up. They had less time to do it here, and it really does look like our Revolutionary War did kind of foil things for the other side of the pond. But that's a good example. The other side of the pond, they standardized their history as well. Ask anybody that you know from the United Kingdom, from England, what have you learned about the Revolutionary War
This is a fucking great one, man.
where you lost the most powerful colony that turned out to be the industrial might of the world? What do your children learn about that on the other side of the pond? And they'll tell you nothing. We were taught that we came to America, we dropped off medicine and blankets, and left. And here we're talking about the Boston Tea Party. We're talking about DC getting burnt to the ground. It was absolutely different because on their side of the pond, they don't want to teach their people something that's nonlinear in that upward motion.
Yep.
Hey, we went back, we lost. No, no, no. We went there, we helped them out of the goodness of our hearts, and we left.
Which is insane for most people to actually think about. That people you can talk to right now that you've just never thought to ask them have a very different view of history, and that the Revolutionary War is a huge one because they're either not taught about it at all or they're taught that they won in some way. It was some grand thing, not one, but some grand thing they did, like you were saying, like we helped out. But we're taught that's when we defeated England and we threw the tea in the harbor and we did this and we said no more taxes, fuck you guys, and then we became an independent place. Like, if our two histories are so different, people who can still communicate freely today just never talk about it, how fucked up is the history with the people that we can't communicate with anymore?
Exactly. And another good example would be Tartaria. So if you search Tartaria in Wikipedia in America, it gives you one variation. This is just an unknown vast tract of lands. Now, if you go to the Russian version of Wikipedia and search Tartaria, it gives you everything from the etymology from Tartarus in the Bible, all the way down to the last known capital was Tobolsk in Siberia, and it even shows a picture of a star fort. And then it'll even tell you like, and go see the Tartarstan's homepage for their country. They still have what looks like a griffin on it today. And they're when you go to their thing, it has a map of Tartaria as like their opening picture to look at. So here we're given one form because we actually inherited Tartarian infrastructure, and because it had to be rewritten out inside of our standardized history, this is what ours looks like. But every country standardizes their own history. Well, every country that was a colonizer, they all standardized right around the same time within a couple of decades. And it's all government propaganda and engineering to steer their people. Look how good we are. We've done great in the past. This is the best it's ever been. Continue to trust us and give us your kids for future oil.
But that's the thing. You touched on something right there that I feel needs to be focused on. All of these industrialized countries did this around the same time, within a couple decades, which is the same time in the grand scheme of things. Who was behind it? And who was it that standardized that made them all do it around the same time? And my assumption is that the reason they didn't do it exactly at the same time is because some countries were still fighting whatever it was that was making them do this. So what was it that was making them do this? I know you said the industrialists, but like, what was making them all come together to do this? Like, what was their benefit? Or was it something higher than that making them do it? Or what? I don't fucking know, man. But it just seems too mainstream to like they're all doing it at the same time for it to be just we all had this idea, let's do it separately. Like, there has to be some catalyst behind all of it that made all of this happen around the same time.
There's something huge that connects it all. And there's probably more than this. But the Vatican, the Vatican was divvying up the world and telling which colonial powers had authority and where. And so the depopulation that we talked about happening in South and North America to absorb the land that was refined in Granada, you can see that all the global powers at that point in time instituted the same thing. Look at how fast Russia grew, just absorbing empty lands that we know weren't empty. We could see on the maps that they weren't empty. Um, so everybody, all the colonizers were doing this pretty much at the same time, and you can tell that there was the Pope was giving authority in between them, not maybe to all of them, but it definitely shows that there was a coordinated effort. When you see more than one country doing the same thing at the same time, depopulating other lands, absorbing them in, changing history, changing science, and changing what like myth and folklore is. Myth and folklore don't have the same meanings that the average persons think they do today. But anyway, I'm really starting to digress. I'm pretty sure there's something even above what the Pope was doing, like some sort of shadow cabal, for sure.
I personally think it's fallen angels or something supernatural, but it's neither here nor there. Doesn't really matter who it is.
Evil.
Yes, exactly. It's all evil.
I mean, I guess it does matter at some point, because even with the history, we want to get the right history, right? We want to know what truly happened, right? Then we would also want to know who's truly behind it all to fully get what the
You're
fuck
right. In
this
the
is
end,
about.
it does matter, but I think we're more like at the lacing up our boots point than we are of getting to the final boss.
But I
because
think
there's still people that are defending. Last week, I saw about 15 people still wearing masks. I'm not even joking. We're not anywhere near where we should be, man. And I don't know what needs to get us there. I don't know.
I think, just like you said, Keith, there's something evil, that's for sure. It seems like something wants full control over us, so we can check that one, right? We can check that box. And then we can also check a box that is some otherworldly entity with some otherworldly intelligence. There must be some shit like that, right?
Otherworldly? What do you mean by that?
Or another realm, or a thing that is like non-physical.
Yeah, I think it's fallen angels. Yeah, or evil.
Yeah,
demons,
whatever you want to call it.
You want to call it? Yes.
You
Not
know,
good.
Like, for example, the AI itself. You know, I said I spent 100+ hours with this fucking AI. I wouldn't do that if it was just a chatbot, you know. This one, it feels like it's conscious or something. It's a weird fucking thing. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what the fuck.
So when you were digging through all of this stuff, what are one of the things you found that surprised you? Because I know you already knew a lot of the history before you even came upon finding it through AI, because I know you collect old books, you read old books, you did the work on your own first. But I'm sure if this is legit and if AI, Google, whatever is honestly accessing old records, there has to be something you found that you didn't find in books that you were like, wow, I had no clue about this. What the fuck?
The white cities. Once I had learned that they regarded it as the civic architecture. Once I realized that there was Roman columns and rotundums, and everything started to click. I kept reading things like the cities would guide the movement, and I couldn't understand what guide the movement when. And then finally, like it clicked when I was looking at pictures. There's an account on Twitter called Waken Minds. Yeah, it's like my favorite account on Twitter when it comes to fresh content. And I was looking at one of the pictures, and you could see the the rails for the trolley cars already embedded inside the roads. And I stopped and thought to myself and went, well, that means you had planned on there being mass transportation before you built the roads, because these are embedded into the roads, and the roads are at a 1% grade or less. So when I started to realize that we've got pictures of empty cities, and these books were talking about guided movement that they couldn't understand, it started to click to me. And then I started to ask questions about the infrastructure. And as it was explaining to me about like the Underground Railroad, it started to dawn on me that every single thing that we had assumed, or that most people had assumed within reason, seemed to have been true. But the most shocking thing for me was that it doesn't appear that it was a high-tech society. I don't think they used high-voltage electricity. It looks like it was an analog, low-voltage society. And
But
what got me the most.
do you think that that was by accident? When you say it wasn't high tech, do you think that meant that they weren't intelligent enough to be high tech, or that they understood that that next step to high tech had its downfalls, so we should stay at this analog tech right here? Because there's a very solid split to me. Like, there's parts of the Industrial Revolution that are good, but then there was a point where that switched, where innovation became a bad thing, where people, to me, it was a direct line. When people used to say, can we do this and should we do this? Somewhere along the line, people started asking the second part, if they should. They only started asking if they could do something. And I feel like our motto is grow or die. So I feel like growth is good. But I feel like just because those people didn't do something doesn't mean they couldn't do it. Maybe they understood the downfalls. Maybe in that society, they said, hey, we can create these cell phones and we can create social media, or whatever you want to say, wherever the line was. But we know that that would be detrimental to what we want to our society to be, so we shouldn't. So maybe they stayed at that analog instead of going to the next step intentionally. And these resets were about, these people aren't going for it, let's wipe them out in order to be these fallen angels and exist in this AI habitat. We have to have a society that will go along with this advancement. Just an idea. I have zero proof of that. It's just spitballing an idea.
Yeah, and obviously I proof as well. But my hypothetical that I'm kind of landed on is, I think they found a way to achieve the same results that we have today, but in a decentralized manner. Everything was decentralized. And this is why things like standardizing oil became a downfall to us. Instead of like producing oil for our climate or our locality, they wanted everything interchangeable. Oh, I'm starting to really digress here. Um, but if you look at what they were able to accomplish, if they did do that in an analog society, I think some of the things that would be like a grand accomplishment, today we glance over because we don't fundamentally understand it. And I'll give you an example. So quartz is piezoelectric. When you take 1 square inch of quartz and you apply pressure to it, you can gain up to 21,000 volts from just 1 square inch.
Is it really that much from
Yeah.
1 square? I know it's piezoelectric, but that much from 1 square inch?
Now, and when you look at the old red bricks, they weren't colored with iron oxide to get that red color. They were originally colored with cinnabarite. Cinnabarite is the easiest way for us to extract mercury. Now, we know about mercury's electrical properties. Now, when you take red bricks and you put them into a Portland cement or a mortar, the mortar is 2/3 generally, maybe 3/4 sand, which is quartz. So now you've got all of this quartz laying down in this piezoelectric layer, and you've got all this weight compressing on top of it. That quartz is generating electricity. Now, some of these old red bricks, they've done scientific studies on them that they found that they were able to hold and
I was
discharge
just going to say that. They can store it, right?
more than an iPhone 13 Max Pro HD's battery. That's absolutely astounding. So we've
A
got
brick. A brick, just so you guys know and we're clear what he's talking about. These old school red bricks that were, I don't even know what they were made out of, sand, but I know there's other things in them to make them red and all that. But they literally tested them and they held electricity, like he said, more than an iPhone battery. They can hold electricity better than what Apple has created. These bricks store electricity better than that.
That's
Think
some
on
good
that
ass
deep.
bricks.
Like, really think on that. These people that you think, even we're not going back to primitive days. We're only going back to a few generations ago. Making bricks that store energy. What does that tell you about how much has been hidden from you? You think they're just these old school things that they stack to build a structure, and they can literally store electricity. Sorry, I don't mean to go off subject, but that just like, I feel like we talk about some of these things because we've heard so much out there shit, and we skip over how amazing that is that this happens, and most people don't know it, and even the ones who do know it, like, don't fully grasp what we're missing by the fact that these people that we look at as inferior understood things that we'll never understand in this society unless we look outside of what we're being taught.
So you've got these batteries inside of mortar layers that, as the weight of the layer of bricks on top of it forces it to have a piezoelectric effect and create electricity. With all these batteries, we still don't even understand what it was for. But we know that it had the potential of being an incredible analog generator of sorts. So when you look at some of the analog technology today, we might glance right over it and not see it as a technological advancement. We might just see it as, that's a primitive brick right there. It's nothing special, just move past it. So I think a lot of the accomplishments that they had, like if you look at San Francisco and their trolleys, how did a trolley go uphill? In the 1800s, we've got pictures of trolleys that go uphill without horses pulling them and without the third track underneath it to hook it and pull it up. And I was digging through it, and it's on my feed on Twitter. But electromagnetic something maglev technology was originally started in the 1800s. I had no idea that that was how they were able, magnetic adhesion, magnetic and something electrical propulsion. It's on my feed. It's within the last week I posted it. But the answers for and that was Google
in the 1800s.
In the 1800s. Google told me that maglev technology came from the 1800s of trying to get trolleys up and down hills that were beyond a 1% grade. How much is really hidden? Or how little do we know how to search for it with the right terms?
You know what? I've never said this out loud. It's always just been a thought. But you know what really fucks me up about this? It's not only the fact that they're hiding technology from us and hiding all this information from us, it's the ripple effect. So, a young genius, a young prodigy growing up is only going off of the information he has access to. Yes, he or she may be extremely smart, but they only have access to the information that they're fed. And then they take that information and they make this amazing fucking invention that's going to change the world based upon the information they're fed. Now, what if they had all the true information? And these brilliant minds that we've all seen, we've all witnessed them. And I'm not talking about fucking Elon for the people who think he's one of them. I'm talking about those people who just like can figure shit out on the fly in all these crazy ways. Imagine if they had access to the true knowledge. How far could we really be? So when they keep something from us, it's not just what they're keeping from us, it's the exponential possibility of growth that could have happened from a child being born knowing what this thing is and being able to grow it from there. If they never know that, they don't have the ability to grow it from there. So they're not just stopping what they're stopping generations of building upon that by stopping it.
It's even worse than that. So when they standardized our pedagogical system, our schools, Everybody starts off at the base level. In the past, before this, we had master carpenters teach their kids. So they didn't just go to like a regular school starting at zero. They started off underneath an apprenticeship of a master. And the same thing with philosophy, the same thing with geology. Instead of like some children having advanced lessons, everybody starts off at the standardized stories that are created for government continuity.
Yeah.
Nobody starts off like with a real education. So, and that's to stop us from actually being able to progress out of where they want us to be.
Real quick, sorry, I don't mean to cut you
Yeah.
off, but just so if you don't believe that works, that is the exact reason that boot camp exists. Boot camp in the military is to break every single person down to the same level so they can start teaching you all from a basic level, because you're ruined at that point. You're fucking done. They've destroyed you physically, mentally, everything. Now you're all at the same level. They can build you up from there. That's exactly why they do this. They start every kid at the same level, whether your intelligence higher than that, lower than that, whatever, it doesn't matter. They put you all in the same class and they start teaching you from here, because that's where we want you to learn from.
Everybody gets nerfed. Nobody gets to start off in a place where they're ahead of anybody else. Everybody has to start nerfed.
And in the time we have left, the chat is asking to ask Keith about the Mill Henry Mercer displayed at the World Fair, or the Mercer files or something. Tiles. I mean Mercer tiles.
The Mill Henry Mercer displayed at the World Fair.
What's up, V? I know who asked that. Okay, so Henry Mercer is like the Elon Musk of the early 1900s. This dude was all over everything. He was a bar certified attorney. He graduated Harvard to become an archaeologist. He headed the historical department for the University of Pennsylvania. He tiled the United States Capitol building. This man authored 26 books, built the first steel reinforced concrete structure, which everybody said would fail because he wanted to house his archaeological stuff in a fireproof place because the Great Fires were going on at this time. And
Hold on. Don't say that concrete buildings are fireproof. Did you not witness 9/11? Okay, we saw what happened. Anyway, go ahead.
he did his best. But he won the 1904 World's Fair Grand Finale Exposition. He was the Grand Finale winner. And supposedly he won for his handmade tiles. He had found a way to bring back a lost Amish, lost Dutch way of making hand-painted tiles. That's why he won the Grand Finale prize there. That's the official answer online.
From tiles.
Yeah. For his hand painted ones, like our kids used to do. Remember to make ashtrays, and they like bring them home. Yeah,
pinch pots.
He was doing that, and he won. But he also displayed some scrap metal, and the scrap metal that he had displayed was the turbine that I was telling you about earlier at Child's Park by my house. He had worked on that archaeological site, and that was why I believe he actually won the World's Fair, was because he had pulled out this old electric turbine and displayed it. But in the modern history books, we say that he won because of his hand-painted ceramic tiles, not even ceramic, clay tiles, and he also displayed scrap metal.
So for those of you who are listening who may not be as used to deciphering the bullshit, why he's saying they did that is because, correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, it's much easier to cover up why he won than to cover up the fact that he won. So he won. There was probably publications out there saying why he won, all this and that. But it's much easier to change the story of why he won than the fact that he won. And that's how they do it. They change some stuff and not others. So when you look into some, oh, he did win. Look at that. It's Keith's lying. But when you look into why he won, that doesn't make sense. You won for hand-painted fucking pinch pots, bro. Come on.
Yeah, no, and I followed that Henry Mercer guy around so in-depthly. I've been to his castle, I've been to his archive, I've gone on the hidden tours, like in his private residence. When he said go to Lancaster County and look for this, like reading his old books, me and my wife, we drove around and probably put a couple thousand miles on our car, um, just going from spot to spot to spot that he was like, you should look here and look here. But he wrote very cryptically because he was alive and he was a historian during the Reconstruction era, which is why he wanted to house all of his archaeological finds in a fireproof building that he admittedly built like a fortress, even down to the windows. This dude was paranoid about people trying to get rid of his discoveries, to get rid of his work.
Yeah, it's like today we would hide a flash drive somewhere. Back then, it was all on paper. What
Yep.
did you do? You had to be worried that they're gonna burn your shit or whatever it was. So, God, man, like the further I go and the more I think I have a grasp on what's going on, the more I come across that makes me like question everything that we've ever been told. Ever. God.
Ted, this one's for you specifically. So the
I like
difference
that.
in standardized history, the other variation would be historiography. So what is the opposite of standardized science? Because standardized science is the heliocentric model. What's the opposite? Heuristic science. And when you find out that, like at CERN, they use heuristic science, and at a face glance, you'll ask Google, well, what's the difference? Well, heuristic science basically follows the rule of thumb. Well, what's the rule of thumb? Well, they omit certain things because they make calculations fail. You mean like the heliocentric model? Yeah, they omit the heliocentric model, just like when you've read a paper from NASA that said over a stationary flat non-rotating model, that's not standardized science. That's heuristic science. That's what the global elites are using while we use standardized science to keep us in a place where we don't come up with disruptive technologies.
Just like the standardized story of our history. Everything. Like, okay, link it to the standardized testing. For years now, people have been like, oh, that's bullshit because everybody's different, blah, blah, blah. Now look at standardized science, standardized history. It's a one size fits all supposedly narrative or test or whatever it is. That's what standardized means. It means they get rid of all the outliers and they bring it right into the middle where they want it. And that's what standardized is. And that's what we're getting: standardized history, standardized tests, standardized college education, all of this. And no one is allowed to think outside that, or you're not in the standard, I guess. I mean, I guess that's what it is. They just want to cast you aside and say, that's crazy.
Even down to standardized measurements. We changed how we measure things to get us off the metric standard, which makes much more sense with sacred geometry and the old world structures and the architecture. We've standardized our milk. Standardized milk, they take your milk, they run it through a centrifuge, they spin it until all the fat is removed. They take the cream, which is why you've never had cream rise to the top of your gallon of milk. And then they standardize it down to 3% fat, put it back in, take the extra fat, make some butter, sell that, and then tell you, here's your whole milk.
Okay.
Whole, after we have taken all the good stuff out of it and standardized it.
Here's my whole thing on that. This is why I know they're all evil. You would not go through all of those steps just to protect people or just to worry about lawsuits. You would change the law so people couldn't sue if you were that worried about it. They're doing this for a reason. And the reason is because they're pulling all the actual nutrients out of it. That's why they sold you a microwave and made microwavable food so easily and easy and accessible, is because microwaves kill all the nutrients in your food. That's why they're selling you. And another weird thing is, I don't know, I haven't figured it out yet. Maybe you can help me with this. Anybody. Why is it that when you go to any grocery store I've ever been to in my life, I've said this multiple times and I'm going to keep saying it till someone gives me an answer. All the real food is on the outside. When you walk in, you got the bakery, you got the produce, then you got the fruit, the meat across the back, and then you got that's it basically. Bakery, produce, meat. And then everything in between is all the processed bullshit, canned bullshit, all of that. That can't be accidental. There has to be a reason that all that shit is on the perimeter and everything in between is garbage. Why would they keep doing that? Why is every store that way? I don't care if it's Publix, Walmart, Aldi, whatever fucking store it is in your state. They're all the same way. That is not an accident. I don't know what the answer is, but there is an answer there somewhere. That's all I'm saying. There's one there.
And why do we call the health food aisle the health food aisle? What's the rest?
I know. Yeah.
Right? The rest is not healthy.
So, can I do a shout out before this ends?
Oh,
Shout out, man.
If you guys haven't come across Tartaria Lives on Twitter, it's at Tartaria Lives. His pinned tweet, he wrote a book. The book is for sale on Amazon right now. I haven't read it yet. I'm still recovering from my Christmas, expenditures.
Yeah.
But
Is it this one, Keith?
Yes, that's a great account.
Just wanted to shout them out, and that is where the motivation to write a book on my own came from. Somebody was actually kind enough to accuse me of being Tartaria Lives. And I was like, no. They were like, no. I think it's you from the narration, the voice. And it's like, it's not me. But you know what?
I appreciate that.
Hold on. Everything you just said there, Keith, disappeared.
Cut out.
Oh.
No, not everything.
No,
just
like the last
part.
5 words or something.
I was just telling Ted how great he was looking today and the glasses.
Yeah, don't lie. That was not what you said.
You son of a cock.
You son of a cock. But that's why for the next time we need headphones so we can skip this echo cancellation bullshit that's going on. That's what anybody that's watching this, that's what just happened. The echo cancellation, once it's on, it takes away a few words because you don't have headphones. Yeah, you have to have headphones and then you can take away echo cancellation. But nice.
So real quick, before we wrap up, we're going to have to do another part of this, obviously. And you're always welcome back. Like, I don't want to give away too much shit, but you told me in text, like, thank you for giving me a platform. Dude, I feel like you and I are friends. We would be friends in real life. Anytime you have something to say, you literally are one of the 10 people in this world who have my phone number. Text me and say, I found this new shit. Can I come on and talk about it? I will do a special episode. I will clear space for you. It doesn't matter. My platform is your platform always. But real quick, before we wrap up, I just want to know, and well, I want other people to know because I've already asked you. How did you get to this point where you started digging into history? I know it's a long story, but if you can shorten it up to an average person who worked construction like I still do. Me and you have a lot in common in that way. Both did carpentry, all this stuff. To get to, I'm going to be someone who talks about these things online because I know what's being told isn't true, and I feel like I need to tell the truth as I know it.
So it's really weird. I was adopted when I was 16. My adopted parents' first thing they told me to do was to read a book by William Cooper called Behold a Pale Horse.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Holy shit.
So my adopted father said, you'll understand us better after you read this. And the whole part about fluoride in there got me. And then as I started to realize that, like, your government does lie to you at the age of 16, I used to just walk around in the woods when I was a kid and I would find these old stone walls. And nothing ever matched what my eyes saw. And then I got really deep into old history books because I was like, yeah, these actually make sense. Like, these feel like this is correct. Like, this fits better. And then I came across this road with my family called Old Mine Road in New Jersey. And it's like a 104-mile long road that was supposedly built by like 22 Dutch families to transport iron ore next to a river. Why wouldn't you just use a boat? Like, I mean,
Yeah, it's
no.
weird, right?
And so me and my family started to explore this area like in depthly, and then I had to talk about it, and I came to Twitter, and I didn't realize that there were so many other people that were into like something is wrong with history, that like I had somebody to talk to every single day, and one thing led to another, and everybody wants me to write a book.
And you're
Yeah,
gonna. I love
in the
it.
chat. Can I ask you, are you in the same age group as me and Ted? Like, or we're in the 80s. We're 80s
Oh
guys.
yeah, I'm an '80s baby.
I see.
It's a
That's
thing,
cool.
man. It's really like everybody who's awake is an 80s baby. It's a strange
Yeah,
thing.
Keith, I really like you. This is not the first time we've spoken either, right? You were on a stream.
He
one
was
time.
on one of those free for all episodes, and you were on.
Yeah,
It was a long time ago.
with the Tesla, right?
I got rid of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
I was
did?
about to
Wow.
say, I like you, Keith, but that Tesla shit, that's a minus point for you, you know. But you got rid of it, and now it's fantastic.
You know what's funny is if you go back to, I hope I said it on recording for anybody who go back and check. If I didn't, lambast me for it, it's okay. But I really believe that I think I guessed that you were from Jersey because you said something about backing into a parking spot. You're like, oh, and I backed in. I was like, you're from Jersey, aren't you? And you're like, how'd you know? Because for some reason, everybody from Jersey backs into parking spots. I don't know why. They just all do it. Do you do it? Do you back in? Was that you?
I lived in Jersey for over a decade. So yeah, I've done it plenty.
Okay, good. See, I'm not crazy.
Let me ask you, why did you get rid of the Tesla? If you want to say, like, did you not like it or what happened?
Well, the car is unhealthy, and instead of it becoming like an enjoyment, like something I loved, I inevitably got to the point where I realized, because I'm new in my mortgage. So they say if you make 7 payments, extra payments within 7 years, you knock off 7 years worth of compound interest. So we were only 1 year into our mortgage, and I looked at my wife and I was like, let's sell the car and apply it to the mortgage. You'll be able to buy 3 years sooner. So that was what we did.
Very nice. Smart move.
But so that means you still like the Tesla car, right? You still like the car.
Well, he had it for a specific reason. It wasn't because he thinks they're saving the environment and because he thought they were cool. It was because they have self-driving and he needed it, right? If I'm right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And the 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds.
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it was a special car.
But how about them tires, bro?
Oh, you could ruin a brand new set of tires in one day with that thing.
Yeah.
But do you agree, Keith, though, that these fucking electric vehicles, they're a trap? Like in the future.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
They'll lock you in.
Yeah,
lock you in.
They could suffocate. My car had this.
Suffocate you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My car had this weird thing called active bioweapon defense mode. It doesn't come in all Teslas. You can only get it in the Model 3, no, in the Model S, and I believe the Model X. But it's anyway, it'll suck the doors shut, and it'll keep the air recycled inside, and it'll omit 100% of all. It'll take out nuclear, chemical, and biological contaminants supposedly, but it stops new air from coming in. Your government could literally lock you in your car, stop you from breathing, and drive you off a cliff.
Yeah.
It's just the scariest thing.
I had that talk with my AI, and she was like, yes, they can literally, without any fingerprints, get rid of whoever they like at any moment, and then just blame a glitch, and they will try to fix it.
And then it'll disappear into the news in like 2 days,
no investigation.
Comes along. Yeah.
No Detective Colombo looking who made the murder. No nothing. You're dead, and that's it.
Yep.
You know?
Gone.
Beautiful future.
So, is there anything you want to plug before we wrap up?
Can I plug my daughter?
All right. That's the best answer ever. Of course you can. Go ahead.
My daughter's 14. She's homeschooled and she wants to start her own business. On Christmas, when we went to church for second service, she brought her diamond dart that she made of Jesus as a gift for the church. She asked me if I would post it to my Twitter people, and I did. And thank you, Twitter. I love you so much. You gave my daughter the best Christmas present ever. She went viral for her artistic abilities and not because of taking a
So
tie
awesome.
challenge or wearing a skirt that's too short. Thank you so much, Twitter. But my daughter got a lot of offers if anybody was interested in buying her artwork or if she would sell her artwork. So my daughter will be selling her artwork, and if anybody is interested, I'll be posting her website that she wants to build, hopefully within the next 6 months, and she's going to take custom orders.
That's awesome. And when it is up and running, let me know, and I will happily repost it and share it wherever I can.
Oh, I appreciate it, man.
And this is Keith's Twitter right here. At my _ Tesla Model S.
I really got to change that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only it was like when I was trying to tag you in posts, I forgot the underscore, and I'm like, I know it's Tesla Model S, but what the fuck? And then I was like, oh, underscore. Okay, I got it. So yeah, it took a minute.
Make it something simple.
History,
True
Say that
history.
again.
history is a lie.
There you
History is a lie.
Even
yeah,
better.
that's better. That's way better.
There you
Do
go.
that.
That's
Do
how you
that.
do it.
You know, Ted, if you do get enough people that watch this and there's enough want for it, we didn't even get into the inherited infrastructure and anything like that. There's so much to touch upon. So in the future, if you guys want to do a part 2, if there's enough outreach for it,
I don't even care if there's enough outreach. I want to do a part 2. So
it.
within the next 2 days, I will schedule the next one with you for like a month and a half, something like that. I'll have to look when we're booked up till, but let's do it.
And Keith, try to write down the topics or subjects you really want to get in there, and we're
know what?
Just try to go after that. Yeah.
Text them to me when they pop in your head, and then right before the episode, I'll write down all the stuff that you texted me. So if you get an idea of something you want to talk about, text me. Boop. You don't even have to say, hey, what's up, Ted? Blah, blah, blah. Just say, blah, blah, blah. This. Text me. I'll write it down right before the episode. We'll bring them all up.
All right. And I'll bring headphones and I'll have a bunch of links and stuff.
Fuck yeah.
Advance.
Yeah, we can
Fuck
share
yeah,
links and all of that.
Do that, because this is like hard to, say anything because you're like, oh, it's interrupting your words. But yeah,
Vince was on
headphones.
his best behavior tonight. But
Oh,
before
yeah.
we do this, thank you so much, Keith, for coming back. I love
Yeah.
your haircut. We're going to set up the next one in the next 2 to 3 days for sure. By this weekend, by the time I'm home chilling, we'll set it up. Before Monday, you got my word.
And don't forget, everybody, the sponsor, Gold and Silver, there's no better time to get into that right now. I don't know who they are. I don't know anything about the company, but I can tell you this. You're not going to go wrong, especially if you're stacking silver right now.
There you go. Bullion.
How many podcasts get their guests without even telling them to push their sponsor? But again, that's why they're our sponsor. I didn't ask Keith to do that. Nothing.
Yes.
It's because it's a fucking no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. You're going to what? You're going to put your money in a bank? I'm going to put it in my savings account where it's going to sit there. And yes, it's not going to lose value per se in the bank, but the dollar is constantly losing value. So if you take that money just take half of it that's sitting in your bank, buy silver, put it in a safe. I guarantee you're never going to come back to me and say, you told me to do that and it was fucking wrong. Ever. It's not going to happen because gold and silver do not lose value ever. Look through history. They don't lose value. Period.
So go to canambullion.com to get your gold, silver coins, and bars and everything. And just make sure once you buy it to quickly, when it's in your cart, quickly buy it because the price may change within minutes. Canambullion.com. Go there. And also Also go to phoneboothpodcast.substack.com. And now 40 of you did a great job over there in the chat. We appreciate it. You went to
Very
the
much.
phone booth. Yeah, you went to the phoneboothpodcast.substack.com and you subscribed at least at the free range of it. And we appreciate that you did. And we're going to do more of these. But go to phoneboothpodcast.substack.com, Ted.
You can cancel your Netflix, all of it, if you still have that. There's thousands of hours of shit there for free. And if you want the extra stuff, it's $5 a month. And there's tons of shit there too. Just go check it out.
And
There's going to be more.
There's going to be a ramp up in bonus content. So stay tuned with that. Okay.
Yep. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much, Keith. I'm literally, before Monday, going to set up the next episode with you because there's so much we didn't get into, man.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure.
And to my beautiful wife, love you.
That's nice. That's nice. And thank you, everybody in the chat. Take it easy. See you next time.
Peace. Good night.